Hi guys, so welcome to Gwyneth again. So let's have a discussion about the Versa SD-WAN controller deployments. So till now we just have understanding about the different topology overview, like how this topology has been designed, how the connection has been done, what is the meaning of the Versa director, Versa analytics, Versa controllers, what is the northbound, what is the southbound. Now let's have a discussion about how basically we can onboard this controller on the SD-WAN fabric. Okay, so you can see Versa director, Versa analytics, and the Versa controller. In this, we just using this 192.168.10.1 Swiss 24 IP for this particular connectivity, where we just building this particular connection for the northbound, and this PC can able to access particular devices from the this subnet. And this particular subnet that is a southbound basically used for just for the where the controllers can talk to each other to just make the control connections between the each other. So this is how basically it is going to be happen. So in this particular topology, what we'll do, let's have the first PC configurations. If you just click double on the PC, you'll get this kind of the window where the PC is already open, and you just have to change the IP address by going in the control panels. So you just have to go in the control panels and adapter setting, and you just have to change the IP address for this PC. So how basically you can do that? You just go in the property and the IPv4, and then you can see this is the IP address. Use the static IP address 192.168.10.10, and this is 255.255.255.0 IP address, which is the subnet mask which I have just configured here on this particular PC. So this PC is going to stay in the one broadcast domain, that is 192.168.10.0/24, and these all the IPs interfaces which is configured here, that is going to stay in the same VLAN from the switch perspective. So no configuration is required in the switch because the switch is acting as a layer 2 switch. No configuration. So you can let me show you. So this switch, I just changed the host name. If I try to change solo VLAN brief, this is just having the VLAN 1 configured, and our port are the map of the VLAN 1. This is how your switch port is configured. So nothing configuration has been deployed. Now talking to Versa director. So you can see Versa director having a two port. One is going toward the northbound, another is going to southbound. So we just have to define the IP address, both of the interfaces. So to defining this IP address, we just must have to start the Versa director. So I have already started the Versa director, and it is booting up. You can see. So it will complete the boot up process. Then it will be the ready for the login. So now you can see while talking, it's ready, and you just have to log into the Versa director. While doing the login, you just have to type the username as the admin, the and the password is the Versa123. So this is the username and password. You just have to type. So no other detail required for the CLI login. So if you are trying to log into the CLI, either for the controllers, either for the analytics and the Versa director, the CLI login would be the admin username, and the password will be the Versa123. So this is only for the CLI, and it is just for the Versa director, Versa analytics, and the Versa controller. So whatever the Versa devices we have, you just use the CLI username password as admin and Versa123. So now I am in the controller. So I'm a login to the controller. So now I have to define these two IP addresses on this particular controller. So how I can define these two IP addresses? So if I'm opening my lab guide, this is my lab guide, which I just created for the configuring these devices. So I just use this way of the configuration by the Linux command. This is a one way where I can just go in the sudo and the if configuration for the particular interfaces and define the IP addresses for the northbound and southbound. So this is the one way of the doing the configuration. The another way, what I can do, I can just do the configuration by using the script. Okay, so we'll talk how basically we can do the configuration by using the script as well. But now let me just do via the this particular configuration by using this particular sudo IP if config commands, right? So what I'll do, I'll go on the Versa directory, and without any further delay, I'll just assign the IP address on this interface Ethernet 0 by 0, and then I'll assign to ETH1, right? So in this interface 192.168.10.1, and here I'll assign the 123.10.10.1. So let me just go here and I'll just write the command. You can see here sudo if config and the interface name and then IP address. So I can write sudo if config and then interface ETH0. Which interface? This one I'm assigning the IP address, and then I'll assign the 192.168.10.1/24. I'll put the keyword as a up. So it is asking the password. So I'll put the Versa123. So it has been taken. Now I'll assign the another IP address for the southbound. If config southbound interface ETH1, and this would be the 123.10.10.1/24, and I'll put the up. See this interface having this IP address. So I'll just assign this and I'll just done. And if you just run the command show if config, you just use the pipe and more, you can see this interface having this IP address assigned now. So this interface having this IP address and this interface having this IP address. So now my IP address has been assigned. So if I go in the PC and try to ping this IP address, let me see if I'm able to ping. Basically, this IP address I'm able to ping or not. So let me just go on my PC. I'll go in the CMD and I'll try to ping the IP address 192.168.10.1 and see it is start pinging. So am I able to take the Versa controller access from the GUI? So let me just see that. So I just have to try and I just have to type HTTPS and the colon and then IP address which is configured on the northbound interface IP address. So see, this is the IP address which is configured on here, and I'll try to take access from this particular PC because it is able to ping this IP address which is configured on this interface. So I'll just go here and try to do that. And after doing that, just wait. So now you can say I'm able to log into the Versa controller GUI. So this is the controller. So just give me 1 minute, guy. I'll continue from here. I'm just pausing my video. So guys, like we just have done the configuration of this particular Versa interfaces, that is ETH 0 by 0, ETH 0 and ETH 1. And then after we just have to ping from this PC, and we after that we just have put the username as administrator, and the password is like we just have put as a Versa123. So this is the password for the GUI and the username. So administrator is the username and the password is a Versa123. And then after we just try to log in, and it is being logged in here. Once it will log in, then we'll continue. So it is taking some unusual longer time. So you just have to wait. Okay. And meanwhile, we can see here, this is the interfaces where we define the IP addressing and all based on these two commands. So let me see. So see, after the first login, it is asking to change the password. So you just have to use the current password, that is a Versa123, and you just have to use the new password. So I'm just putting my new password from where I can log in it. So I can just change the password. So now my password has been changed. And again, I have to use the administrator, A in caps, administrator, and the password, which I just set right now. And then I'll try to log in. So after the first login, you just have to change the password. Okay. So now you can see this is being logged in. So it is trying to log into the Versa director. So we just have to wait for a few seconds. And wow, we are inside the Versa director. And here we can see different tabs like monitor, configurations, you can see. And in the configuration, we just have the different configuration. We can do that. For right now, none of the option is showing, but probably we'll see later stage. So you can see in the workflow, we don't have anything. So you can see in the administrator, we having a different thing. Analytics, if you're going, you can't see anything. So it's not fully licensed, not fully configured yet. So that's why we are not seeing much information here, but we'll see later stage how the different things can be available to do the configuration. So this is the Versa director for the GUI, just for the first reference. And here we are just login. Okay, so coming back to again on the director. So whatever the IP address we just define on this particular Versa director, it is not persistent IP address. So these two IP address is not fixed, not persistent. So to just make it persistent, we just have to change the file name, which is the Linux file name that is where it is hosted on the interface on the this particular directory. So how basically we can do that? We just have to use this particular keyword and we just have to go there. So just we have to go in the directory. Let me just go sudo nano, right? This is a directory name. And then after we just have to use this directory, right? So etc network and then interfaces. So this is directory. Let me just verify that should be not wrong. So you can see etc directory network. And then after just press enter. It is asking the password. Just put the password versa123 and see now I am in the director. Here just you have to make the interface as a static and you just define the IP address of this interface. So what I have to do in my scenario, I just use this IP address. You can see for this interfaces, so I'll go on this particular interface. So right now I am on the ETH0. Similarly on the ETH1, I'll just make the IP address persistent and fixed particular these two interfaces. So I'll just go and make as a static first. Okay, not DSCP. So this is the first thing. I'll make the static and I'll put the address here, the address 192.168.10.1/24. So even not /24, just put the address and then again we have to define the net mask. That is 255.255.0. Gateway is not required, so I'm just leaving the gateway as it is. Now the next interface we having, that is auto, right? That is ETH1. Let me just make ETH1. This is another interface I have. And this another interface, I just have to define the IP address again. The same, let me just copy it if I can copy, or let me just type. If face, let me just use if face ETH1 inet static. Okay. So this is my another interface and the address would be on this is 123.10.10.1 and net mask would be 255.255.255.0. So now I have assigned the IP address that is a persistent IP address on the both of the interfaces. Okay. So after assigning the IP addresses, what we have just have to do, we just have to press control like we just have to save the configuration. So we just have to write out. So control O, we just have to press and then we just press control. We just have to press control X to just exit from there. So I just put it here. And if you go again the same directory, you will find these two IP addresses configured already. So you just have to use the control X to just get out from here. So now I'm out from this particular and these IP are the fixed for this particular interfaces. It is not going to be changed for further because it's the permanent IP address we assigned on those interfaces. So now we have done for this particular director. Now moving to the Versa Analytics, and we probably have to do the similar kind of the configuration for the Versa Analytics as well. Okay, so let me go and do that as well for the Versa Analytics. So the first thing IP assignment will do, and then we'll go for the next step as well. So here is my Versa Analytics. You can see the lab guide. So the again the process will be the same. We just have to do the IP assignment process, and we just have to assign the IP addresses. So see, only the IP address has been changed from 1 to 2 and rest configuration is remain same. So what I'll do, I'll go on this particular Versa Analytics. So right now you can see, let me just change the color. So this is my Versa. So this is like, if you log in the first time, it will show this way. You just have to put the admin username and the password is Versa. Let me just Versa, sorry, Versa 123. So now I'm in login. Okay. So what you just have to do quickly, just we have to run this scripts. So you just have to copy, because this IP is already configured. Just have to run the command. So it is configured. It is asking the password. Support one Versa 123. This has been done. And this also you just have to use. And this is also going to be done. So this has been done. So now if you just check if config pipe include more, you can see this interface ETH0 having this IP address 2 and the ETH1 having this one 123.10.10. So is it good, right? Because in this interface we just need to 123 series of IP address. On this we required the 192. So let me just try to ping this IP address reachable from this PC or not. So I'll go on this PC. Let me see. I can ping that IP address 192.168.10.2. Yes, I'm able to ping. So now I have the reachability with this PC with the director and the analytics. Okay, so makes sense, guys. So two things we just have the configuration, done the configuration. Now, because this IP address is not a still persistence, we just have to make a persistence. Again, we have to do the same steps. We just have to go in this directory. Okay, so I'll go there. Let me just go and see. And now I'm in the directory. So what I'll do, I'll simply make the static. This interface configuration is static. And after that, I'll just use this particular configuration, which I already configured here. Or let me just already make the static, only 2-line command required. So I'll just copy and paste, sorry. So this has been copy and paste. Now I'll go downsize and I'll use the another interface, this one. Let me just use in the notepad. There will be no gap then. Okay, so now it's fine. And I will just go here and I'll just paste it. Oh, still gap. So what I can do, I can just copy this one and this one. So now you can see my both of the interfaces has been configured. So what I'll do, I'll press Control O and then Control X. I'll just get out from here. Press enter and then Control X. So let me just show you the file again. Do you have? Yes, we can see this IP is already configured here. That is a persistence. So that's okay. Just press Control X to get out from here. Okay. So now I have done this two configuration. So my V analytics also has been done. So now these two are reachable. Now it's time to configure the Versa controller interface. So before I can go and configure the Versa controller, there is a prerequisite. We just have to do that. Okay. Some configuration we have to do that before we configure the Versa IP for the basically for the southbound especially. So what I can do, I can just make it the northbound configuration and then we can just use for the southbound later state. So let me just make this IP configure as well. So if I go on this PC and try to ping .3, should be not reachable. Let me show you because it is not configured. So if I try to ping 192.168.10.3, see this IP is not reachable. This support to be assigned on this controller IP address. So what I'll do, I'll just take the CLI access of this particular and see it is asking for the username and password. So I'll go there and I'll put Versa 123. Let me just go Versa 123. This is a password. Sorry for that, guys. So I'll just use the admin and Versa 123. This is the password. Okay. So in this password, what you have to do, the third step, we just have to use this particular command because we just going to give the IP address on the one of the interfaces, not all the interfaces. So where is my lab? So I'll just giving the IP address, this interface. This is the VNI interface, the virtual interface, not the physical interface. So later stage will define the IP address for particular this interface. But for time being, we are just making the management connection via this PC. Okay. So I'll go and configure this Ethernet 0x0. So just ETH 0x0 is considered as the Ethernet 0x0 interface. Okay. So no need to worry. about that. Sorry, where I am. Okay, so actually I'm on the wrong slide. Okay, so this is the lab. So this is my configuration. So what I'll do, I'll just copy this one, and this is the same thing. You can see we're just giving the IP address 192.168.10.3./24. So I'm going here and the controller, I'll paste it. Okay. So here it is asking the password. I'll give that. Now I have assigned the IP address. So if I do now if config and the more command, you can see ETH0 having the IP address. You guys see here. And now if I'm going here and try to ping again, see it is reachable. But still this IP is not persistent. So again, we have to make it persistent. So again, we have to go on the this particular directory and we just have to make this persistent. So how can I do that? I'll just simply go on the controller. I'll go here. I'll just paste here and see this is the IP address. So here I'll do, I'll go and make as a static. So I'll just make as a static and I'll just type as the address that is 192.168.10.3 and net mask I'll put as a 255, 255, 255 dot 0 and then I'll press Control O, enter and Control X. So now it's done. So my IP has been persistent to this box. So this is the three things. And now if I ping here, you can see I'm able to reach already the device controller. So this is the first step we have done. At least we make the IP connectivity from this PC to all the control networks devices. Now also we get the GUI access of this particular directors. Now let's do the further more steps to just onboard successfully the V analytics on the Versa director and the controller as well, and just define the overlay network connectivity as well. Okay. So in upcoming session, we'll discuss this all steps. So you can see if even I am the Versa director, but still I don't have the full flags visibility of the Versa director. I'm not able to see like V analytics that is not mapped yet. So how basically it is going to happen? I'll show you step by step. So let me show you again the Versa director overview. So it's taking time a little bit longer time. So you can see in the configuration, I don't have anything to do the configuration because this is not licensed. Nothing is like you can see there is some template. There the hub and spoke service chaining. We having the spelling application steering the devices organizations. So a lot of things we have here. Okay, and the connectors, local CMS. So we'll discuss one by one. And the more important thing, the Versa Analytics tab is not still visible. Okay, so we'll do the licensing. We'll see how the licensing is going to be happen, how these all going to onboard together in the upcoming videos. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Let's connect in the next session.